Right, here we are, part 7, the true home stretch. Our final color is green to go over here in Neon Dynasty. Again, commons, uncommons, rares, sorting by mana value. For each of those categories, first up is Commune with Spirits. Single green for a sorcery. Look at the top 4 cards of your library. You may reveal an enchantment or land card from among them and put it into your hand. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order.
Yeah, so the idea with these kind of cards generally is that if you have enough enchantments in your deck, you kind of get the privilege of replacing a land with this card, a forest. Because, like, in the early game, it'll translate into land. If you have this and 2 lands in your opening hand, you can keep that, try to find a 3rd land with this. Or in the late game, instead of drawing a land, you have to draw this and find an enchantment. The problem is, if you don't have enough enchantments in your deck, it's just going to be a land, when you cast it sometimes, and then you're just putting a tapped forest in your deck, or tapped whatever in your deck. Yeah. I guess this can find other colors, but that's not its main job. So, if you've got somewhere in the neighborhood of, like, I don't know, 10 enchantments, maybe a little more, which is a tough ask, but I think green-white can probably do it. Mm-hmm. You can replace a land with this card. You don't want to go too ham. You don't want to replace 2 lands or anything, but it's a nice little bonus. It's almost like a value land, essentially.
Sure.
Yeah.
Where do you grade this card? I don't generally like these effects.
No, I don't either. They just don't consistently, you're not consistently able to play them often enough. They often go last pick. You can pick them up whenever you want. So as far as the draft goes, you're never going to not be able to get one of these if you want one. It's more like a little, little treat at the end of the draft you kind of get to pick up for free. Yeah. So, when you can play it, it's going to be like a C in your deck because it's like, oh, cool. Like, I get to replace a land. That's valuable, but never ever a high pick.
Yeah. So what do you got to give me a grade? What do you say?
Yeah, I would just say, a C. I guess Synergy C, maybe.
Synergy C, okay. Cool.
All right. We got Fang of Shigeki. Single green mana for a 1/1 death touch, enchantment creature, snake, ninja.
Yeah,
a lot of words.
Little typhoid rats.
Yeah, little typhoid rats.
These are fine, right? They're not great, but types may matter here.
One of the things we're going to notice is that ninjutsu is oddly a little bit in green. Like, we saw 1 white card, but I think there is a vertical cycle of green ninjas. That means a common, an uncommon, or rare. And so green ninjutsu is not something out of the question. Green-black ninjutsu or green-blue ninjutsu may be something that your deck has a sub-theme of. In this deck, this card kind of plays that role, right? It's a ninja, hard to block. Your opponent doesn't really want to block this thing. Pick it up for cheap. And, green rampy decks are also kind of in the market for this sometimes, right? Where just, like, blocks early. So I don't know. Sometimes these cards are good, sometimes they're not. That's what, like, I remember some formats I'm like, I just don't want this card in my deck, and some formats you're like, oh, there's enough attacking ground things that it does a good job of that.
It all seems small. Like, it does. So far, we haven't seen anything where you're like, oh, this is really going to trade up on mana on blocks. Like, nah, this is just like trading with like a little 1/1 monkey.
Yeah. Sometimes it does get a little bit bricked, or it's odd to say bricked on a death touch creature, but you don't want to be trading a token for this or whatever. So yeah. I don't know. I'm always a little bit iffy on these cards, but maybe the enchantments, subtype and the ninja kind of stuff going on, it does enough for it where it's going to be like a solid playable. I'm going to start this like C- though.
Yeah, I'll go C, but I think C- is probably more correct. Cool. Tamio's Safekeeping is next. Single green for an instant. Target permanent you control gains hexproof and indestructible until end of turn. You gain 2 life.
Okay, so little protection spells, sort of. Worse than, I would say definitely worse than, like Snakeskin Veil or something.
Yeah.
But, it's a fine card. You could put it in that slot. I think you're gonna not be super happy with it. I'd start it as a D, but yeah, it could make your deck.
Yeah, I would probably basically only play this if I had like something, like if my deck was like really relying on one thing,
exactly.
Really wanted to, like, I need a thing to protect. But I don't think that's gonna happen that often. I think D seems fine for the Safekeeping.
All right, next up is Bamboo Grove Archer. It's 1 and a green for a 3/3 defender with reach, Snake Archer enchantment creature. Channel 4 and a green, discard the archer, destroy target creature with flying. So 5 mana to channel it. It's pretty expensive, but decent defensive body.
We are now at the point of the stream where I'm just being trolled by like my most loyal viewers who are like talking to me about the 1/1 death touch turning off Ophiomancer, because that's happened to me with Lotus Cobra in Cube like a million times.
Yeah.
And they're telling me that this card goes in black-green Luris. Like, I'm just getting savaged right now by people who know my weaknesses. Anyway, I don't like this card very much.
I don't either. I think purely defensive cards, even in decks that would like structurally want a purely defensive card, tend to really not be great because, so the way I put it is often that if you're like this rampy green deck or deck that's trying to play big green things, this card is good against the decks that are trying to attack you, right? The two, the red, 2/2 for 2 kind of attacking you deck, or a white aggro deck or something. Like, it does a decent job of being a speed bump. But the problem is, against the decks that are like a little bit slower, maybe getting kind of tricksy things, maybe blue decks or black decks that are trying to grind value, this card's a real miss, right? It's just like, ugh, like 3/3 defender reach. You could argue that like you have that kind of buyout of being like, okay, sometimes it's the plummet, but sometimes that's not so good against decks that are just like drawing a bunch of cards. You don't want to spend 5 mana to plummet their stuff. So in the matchups, it's good. It's pretty okay. And then the matchups is bad. It's really bad is the way I would put it. So I would put this as like a sideboard card or a D, essentially.
Yeah, I'd say a D. I mean, whatever. Sometimes you need emote piranhas for your curve, but
right.
Yeah.
Like, it's very easy to imagine, oh, my green deck's ramping and I want to defend the ground, in the meantime. But that's not often it's not how it plays out in every matchup, essentially.
Yeah, it's a great 2-drop in your blue-green modified walls deck. So
yeah,
I can't wait for that archetype. Coiling Stalker is next. 1 and a green for a 2/1 Snake Ninja. This has ninjutsu, as Alex said, for 1 and a green as well. When it deals combat damage to a player, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature you control that doesn't have a +1/+1 counter on it.
Modify some stuff. Okay,
yeah.
So on its own, it's going to be a creature that your opponent probably wants to block if you play on 2. So it's a little something. Although it doesn't attack all that well. It's a 2/1. If you ninjutsu it in, can put a counter on itself. It's kind of cool. Could put a counter on a slightly bigger creature maybe. All in all, I'm not that thrilled about this. I think it probably is like a C-.
Yeah, because sure, you're like, oh, cool, this is like a free way to modify stuff. It's like, except when is this ever connecting past the first time you've ninjutsu'd it?
Exactly.
Yeah, I'm sort of out on this. This is a D+, I guess.
Yeah, I would go D+ as well, probably. I said C-, but I'd be willing to join you there.
You're delirious here at the end of the stream.
What did I say? What year is it?
Yeah.
Jukai Trainee, 1 and a green, 2/2, human samurai. Whenever a Jukai Trainee blocks or becomes blocked, it gets +1/+1 until on a turn. Call back Bushido. I'm not delirious enough to not understand the 20-year-old references or whatever still.
Yeah.
So this is actually a pretty good aggressive creature, right? Like,
yeah.
It's really hard to block this thing early. Just a 3/3 early is going to be tricky to block. Kind of a ninja enabler-ish, but just like a fine aggressive creature and fine blocking creature too. Like, if you're looking for a thing to block, like you were with
this
that
card is
defender,
really Bushido's good. This is a C+ at least.
This is a 2-mana 3/3 for all intents and purposes, except for when it gets burned, right?
Yeah,
that's
fine,
the idea.
Fine, and then they're gaining 1 mana in that trade. Like, it's not that brutal for you. I think this is a C+.
Well, I was gonna say C still. I was gonna say, oh, that's great.
Really?
Still probably a C. Yeah, I think it's probably a C. I could see it edging to C+, but I just think it's just like a fine 2-drop.
Yeah. Next is Master's Rebuke. 1 and a green for an instant. Target creature you control deals damage equal to its power to target creature or planeswalker you don't control. I will say, it's probably just double feature with all the rares and stuff, but I've looked at that Wolf Strike many times, and I've been like, really? I can't punch a planeswalker with this yet?
That's kind of funny, yeah.
And now I can.
So this is the kind of card that also varies from set to set, where we're like, they underperformed last set, maybe it's going to be good in this set. This is, a juiced version of it where it does everything you want. It's instant, it's a bite, not a fight, right? All the good stuff, essentially. Maybe that makes the Death Toucher a little bit better.
For sure.
Right. There was a Korea where, Ram Through was better than this card, actually. It had an additional line of attacks, but still not that impressive. Although I would argue that was more of a green was not great in that set more than that card was particularly poorly positioned. So I don't know. I think I'm going to start this card as pretty good, as it does all the good stuff you want for a bite spell as an instant, and it's only 2 mana, but I could see it falling, essentially. I guess another thing that you want to consider with these kind of cards is how much stuff blows it out, like how much instant speed removal is there, and there's not a ton outside of red. So, I don't know. I am willing to start this as a C+.
I'm going to go C on this.
Yeah.
But again, this may be more of a, as I talked about with the pacifism variant, like, am I did I go too low on these kinds of effects that don't boost power and toughness?
Right.
And now it's just like, yeah, like we went through a patch where that was true, and then that's not true anymore. Because honestly, even like Duel for Dominance ended up being like fine in Midnight Hunt. Like,
right. Yeah.
And even when you didn't have Coven or whatever. So this could end up being. But I think I'd probably land on Duel for Dominance being a C at the end of that format, and this feels like that might be the case too. Next up, what do we have?
We got Bearer of Memory. It's a 3-mana 3/2, 2 green. It's an enchantment creature, human monk. 6 mana, 5 and a green. Put a +1/+1 counter on target enchantment creature against trample until end of turn. Ooh, clunky on both ends here.
Yeah, 3 mana, like 3/2 body isn't great. It has
good
types, but
yeah.
whatever. And then, sure, if you get to a place where you have 6 mana and nothing better to do, this is something to do. But this is like a D plus.
Yeah, I don't like either end of this card.
Yeah.
I would put D or D minus.
Yeah.
All right, so what do we got next?
Careful Cultivation. 2 and a green for an aura, enchant artifact or creature. As long as enchanted permanent is a creature, and we haven't touched on this yet. We've read this text many times. The reason it says this is because you can go on a vehicle, and then once the vehicle becomes a creature, as long as it is a creature, it'll get the buff, which is +1/+3 and reach, and tap to add green. It also has Channel. 1 and a green, discard Careful Cultivation, create a 1/1 green human monk creature token with tap, add green. It's a mana dork!
It like tricks you all the way down. You're like, oh, these kind of cards aren't that good. It's like 3 mana, put it on a land or a creature, whatever. And then you're like, oh, wait a second, it's a 2 mana dork. That makes the card quite a bit better.
Yeah.
Yeah, very, very deceptive. What do you think about this card?
I love mana dorks, Alex. I really do. I have no idea how to evaluate this card. So you're playing it I'm trying to think about it because I'm like, it's modal. It's modal. You could do 2 things, but when do I ever want to do the first thing?
When the mana dork's not good.
And I guess when if you need a reach blocker, perhaps.
Yeah. I mean, when you draw this on turn 5 or 6, you're just gonna put it on a creature. You're just gonna
put it on a creature.
So
it kind of solves your mana dork problem in that sense a little bit.
I think this card's good.
I think this card's good too. I go C+ on Careful Cultivation.
Let's do C+ on Careful Cultivation then.
Why did they trick us?
I don't know.
They're like, it's Nature's Embrace, psych.
Yeah. Love it.
Okay.
All right. Next up, we got Fade into Antiquity. 2 and a green for a sorcery, exile target artifact or enchantment.
Sideboard.
Yeah.
Maybe because it has both.
Right.
There's lots of artifacts and enchantments. Maybe you main deck this, but it's been a long time since this kind of thing was main deckable. You could play True Love's Kiss main deck in Throne of Eldraine and just be like, look, at the base level, I'll target a food and draw a card.
Right.
But
so it's worth talking about, I think, because a lot of people are like, oh, there's a lot of artifacts in the set, right? And it's like, yeah, there is, and we've touched on this before in the set review and others, but like, it's often just better to have, like, maybe if you have absolutely no interaction, like, sure, play this card. And, like, it's cool. You feel good and you're like, aha, this card's usually not very good. Has applications in the set. That's fine. But generally, you're better just playing good creatures. Or, as long as you have some other interaction, like, you're better off playing that instead of this. Because there's just times when, like I said, the thing you want to kill isn't the enchantment or artifact, right? And the thing you actually use to kill just doesn't get hit by this. Or the nightmare scenario is you don't actually end up in a matchup where this is good, right? You face like a red-green deck that sure maybe has an artifact creature or 2. Maybe it's a cheap artifact creature, I doubt there will be matchups where this does stone nothing, but I also don't think it's the priority. So I think you can play it. I'm actually gonna call this like a C or a C-. I'm gonna give it a C-, right? But I never think you want to like prioritize a copy or anything like that.
Yeah. Tune into the Lord's Limited Crash Course to find out just exactly how many targets this will have, but we don't have the Scryfall stuff just yet. Next is Grafted Growth. 2 and a green for an aura. Enchant land. When Grafted Growth enters the battlefield, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature or vehicle you control. Enchanted land has tap, add 2 mana of any one color.
Are these cards good anymore, Ethan?
I don't know. It's tough to say anymore because, like, when was the last time we saw them?
Oh, the actual, like, 2 of any color?
The actual 2 of any color. Like, New Horizons is the last... this is a functional reprint of New Horizons.
Right.
Haven't seen that since Ixalan, right? Or maybe it was in a core set, I don't remember, but like...
modifies. It plays in the modified space. Oh yeah, there was War of the Spark. That's true.
It was in War of the Spark?
Yep.
Oh, huh. Interesting.
Fascinating.
Very fascinating to hear that. Yeah, I don't. To answer your question, I don't know, but this does also synergize with modified stuff.
I'm pretty low on these cards.
You shocking. I'm surprised. I'm surprised to hear that. Yeah, I mean, this is again a card we don't need to spend a lot of time on. You'll know when you want this, which is probably not very often.
Yeah, I'm gonna start at a D.
Yeah, that seems fine. D seems good to me.
All right. Up next, we got Heir of the Ancient Fang. 2 and a green for a 2/3 Snake Samurai. When it enters the battlefield, it enters the battlefield with a +1/+1 counter on it if you control a modified creature. Interesting. So on curve, it's not going to be getting a counter very often, right? No. You got like the 1/1 artifact that we were talking about, the Star People artifact. Maybe there's like a few 2-drops in there, but most of the time it's not going to be a 3/4 on turn 2 or on turn 3. And if it's not, then by the time you have a modified creature, you're not that excited about like a 3/4. It's fine, but really nothing exciting.
But I mean, the ceiling of this is really exciting. It's really good to be, because this also then is modified itself, right? And so
it counts for,
helps to chain stuff together as well.
I think it's a D still.
Yeah, D+.
Yeah, not into it.
Maybe it's maybe just a secret Gruul gold card. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe something like that.
Yeah. All right. Season of Renewal is 2 and a green for an instant. Choose one or both. Return target creature card from your graveyard to your hand. Return target enchantment card from your graveyard to your hand.
These kind of cards are they always have some aspirational goals, but never actually very good, right? Like the green divination-ish cards where they rebuy stuff from your grave. I'm not super into this, I don't think.
Yeah.
They always just kind of underperform as just like a little bit clunky, a little bit hard to set up. You know, when it works out, you're buying back 2 things, but it's you know, when you have to buy back 1 thing and it's a card that's stuck in your hand early. It's not like a divination where you can just cast it. Mm-hmm. I'm pretty out on this. Like instant doesn't really make up for that, I don't think. So I'm just gonna give this a D.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Season of Renewal gets a D from me as well.
Favor of Jukai, 3 and a green for an aura, enchant, artifact, or creature. As long as the enchanted permanent is a creature, it gets +3/+3 and has reach. So big old buff. Channel, discard it. Target creature, 1 and a green. Sorry, discard it. It's not just free. Target creature gets +3/+3 and gains reach until end of turn. So very similar space we've played in before with it's a combat trick, but also has some applications later.
Yeah, I think it's just mostly gonna be the trick, and I don't love the trick. Like, you know, Witch's Web untapped, and I really was not happy to play Witch's Web basically ever.
I think it's just another D. I mean, maybe we're missing how good like suiting up your creatures with an aura is, and that maybe maybe we live in Ixalan land with maybe a little bit less removal than usual.
I mean, +3/+3 is huge. Like,
it is, yeah.
That's going to enable an attack and demand probably just a catch-all removal spell or a bounce spell from blue or whatever. But I'm just not crazy about it.
Yep. I'm gonna start on D.
Geothermal Kami, 3 and a green for a 4/3 spirit. When it enters the battlefield, you may return an enchantment you control to its owner's hand. If you do, you gain 3 life.
Yeah, this one I'm a little more interested in.
Sure.
You know, the life gain offsets the fact that a 4/3 is not a very good body anymore for 4, and you know, you pick up a Saga-ish. Maybe we don't like that actually, and then you can pick up like your dog, your 1/1 or your 1/1.
I'm picking up the 1/1 is
yeah.
White. That's the dream.
It's
right?
That's the dream. Yeah, I guess picking up your enchantments probably isn't actually.
It's just such a whatever 4-mana 4/3 is just such a body.
Is this another D?
Yeah, I think this is just a D+. I don't know. I don't like this card that much.
Yeah.
Sorry, green. You're last. If you're not first, you're last. Harmonious Emergence is next. 3 and a green for an aura. Enchant land you control. Again with the enchant land thing. Enchanted land is a 4/5 green spirit creature with vigilance and haste. It's still a land. If enchanted land would be destroyed, instead sacrifice Harmonious Emergence, and that land gains indestructible until end of turn. I like this even less, I think, than... Well, I guess not. I guess I like this more than the 3/3
Yeah, because the 3/3, like, at least on turn 5 when you cast this and you can attack with it, like you don't care about your 5th land as like you're not necessarily on the next turn going to be using your 5th land like you would be your 3rd land for sure.
And this can attack, and then because it has vigilance, you can attack and then use it post combat. But like,
still, it's like
why is this good?
Modified is the reason, I suppose, right?
But like, can't I just modify with good, like with the reconfigure stuff? Like, why do I need to play this?
It plays in 2 themes, right? Like modified and enchantments matter.
I guess so. Yeah.
I don't know. This one speaks to me as like maybe a bit better than it looks.
All right.
I'm gonna give like C-.
C-? Yeah, that's fine.
But I think it's not as bad as the other green cards we've seen so far, essentially.
Yeah.
Jukai Preserver. This is 3 and a green for a 3/3. All right, we got to a good one, Ethan. We got to a good one. Okay. It's a 4 mana 3/3 enchantment creature, human druid. But when it enters the battlefield, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature you control, and it's got a channel ability. 2 and a green. Discard Jukai Preserver. Put a +1/+1 counter on each of up to 2 target creatures you control.
That's pretty good.
So
that's pretty darn good.
Yeah, that channel mode is really good. Like 4 mana 4/4, or 3/3 makes your 3 drop attack. That's not bad at all, right? And then the additional mode of sometimes you get the full blowout where you go, okay, go into combat, you win 2 combats or even 1 combat and a counter sticks around. But if you can ever win 2 combats and the counter stick around, that's huge. Your opponent lines up 2/2 on 2/2, 3/3 on 3/3 or whatever, and you just wreck them.
Mm-hmm.
That's something to consider. And then just sometimes that doesn't happen, and you just like make a trade and maybe a decent trade somewhere else. And I don't know. This card does enough where I'm like, yeah, solid. I just want a C+.
C+, yeah. I mean, we got to give green a bone somewhere.
Throw it a bone, yeah.
All right. Next up is Tales of Master Seshiro. This is the Common Saga. 4 and a green. First 2 chapters, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature or vehicle you control. It gains vigilance until end of turn. And then it flips, you exile it, and it comes back as Seshiro's Living Legacy, which is a 5/5 creature with vigilance and haste.
I mean, 5/5 vigilance is pretty good.
And like, this is Dormant Grove. like this really is Dormant Grove. It just puts a counter for 2 turns and then flips to a 5/5.
It's also 5 mana though, right? Like,
so it's 1 more than Dormant Grove. I like this card is great.
Oh, you like this card a lot? Wow.
Oh, I like this card.
I think it's fine. I think it's fine. I would give this a C.
You really wait? Sorry. What are you saying?
A C or C-.
So, and what would you grade Dormant Grove?
Like a B minus.
And is it just because of the 1 mana increase?
Yeah, so it's the whole idea that mana isn't linear and 4 is so much more than 5, right?
That it gets a full letter grade plus knock?
That
seems like
it's huge. A mana is giant.
I don't know. I think you're being. I think that's crazy to me. That's like I could see it being like half or whatever, but you're like a C- to a B for 1 mana. That seems wild to me. I don't know.
Well, Dormant Grove also giving vigilance to all your creatures was great, right?
Yes, it's a common. I mean, but I'm not saying this is also a B grade card, but I don't think it's a C-. I think this is a C+.
Okay, I'm gonna give it a C, but yeah, that's fair. All right, next up, we've got Great-Tanuki. It's 4 and a green, so 6 mana for a 6/5 trample enchantment creature. Channel, discard it to pay 3, 2 and a green, and you can search your library for a basic land and put it on the battlefield tapped.
I think this card's pretty darn good.
Yeah, I think it's all right. I think I think that the the ramp mode is medium. You don't really want to pay 3 mana for a ramp spell all that often. All this green stuff just seems a little bit, just a little bit too high on the curve. I know you like ramp makes up for that a little bit, but the times you don't have the ramp stuff, it's pretty bad.
Yeah.
And like, this is sort of Colossal Dreadmaw, but the 6-point toughness on Colossal Dreadmaw matters a lot, so it doesn't trade with like, a 3 and a 2. Like, needing to put more stuff in front of Dreadmaw really matters. Like actual 6 power.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I think this card is just as fine. Just a C.
Yeah,
it is a fixer.
Not crazy about this card.
The fact that it fixes is cool.
Yeah, I think it's good, not great. C sounds good to me.
Cool.
First uncommon we have here is Generous Visitor. Single green for a 1/1 spirit. Whenever you cast an enchantment spell, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature.
All right, now we're talking.
Yeah.
This one's sweet. That's just a lot of power in a 1 mana card. So again, let's just go to that baseline. Let's say you have 10 enchantments in your deck, right? So you could probably pass, by the time you get to turn 5, probably about 2 or 3 of them. So you've thrown around 2 or 3 counters. That's great. And then this is not limited to sorcery speed by any means. You can do it in combat. With like I guess there's not really enchantment buff spells or anything in combat, but still, you know, I think this card is gonna accrue a lot of counters. And you can just like move them around. It's not just on this creature.
Right. The fact that you can just dump them around is awesome. I think this feels like, I don't even know if you need to give it a build around grade. It just feels like a B to me.
I think it's just gonna be good in most green decks. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what do you want to give it?
I give it a B.
Yeah, I think that's probably fair for it. I'm in for it. Next up is Boon of Seiju. This is 1 and a green for an instant. Target creature gets +X/+X until end of turn, where X is the greatest mana value among permanents you control. Untap it. Holy, is that a lot of damage potentially?
Sure, yeah, that's definitely a lot of damage potentially.
Yeah, wow. You know, +4/+4. Which
yeah, very likely to just be like 2 mana +2/+2.
Untap, which is fine.
Untap, sure.
Right?
Doesn't give like trample or anything.
Yeah, maybe I'm getting a little bit worked up about this card.
Maybe. I was like, wait, are you about to like give this a higher grade than Dormant Grove at common?
I think it's an A. I think it might be a B+ Ethan. Honestly, like,
oh boy,
I don't know. I think this card has high highs and the lows are not that low essentially. But then we've gotten this weird space again of like, what is green doing? Is it attacking? Is it ramping? Is it doing this weird combo of both, where it's just odd, you know? So I don't know. I probably still just give this a C, but it's a decent trick. Like as much as a 2-mana trick can, you know, as good as a 2-mana trick can be. It's got a lot of good stuff going for it.
You can get blown out with this harder than, because this doesn't say as you cast this.
True, yeah.
I'm kind of out on this as a trick.
Okay.
I don't know.
I'd give it a C. I think it's not going to be that hard for you to have something. Like even if it's just, yeah, maybe you have to be careful about it, but
yeah.
Well, the thing is, if you're gonna get blown out, like they're just gonna bounce the creature, not the actual. I don't think they're gonna bounce or kill the thing, right? Or maybe your thought is they kill the big thing.
They can kill the big thing, and then your thing isn't as big or whatever.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. I'd still stand on C though.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not into it. Go-Shintai of Boundless Vigor is next. 1 and a green for a 1/1. This is the Shrine with Trample. At the beginning of your end step, you may pay 1. When you do, put a +1/+1 counter on target shrine for each shrine you control.
So if this just was a 1/1 trample that grew every turn, it's close to Luminarch Aspirant sort of, but you have to put it on this, so it's not quite that. But paying 1 is, especially when you're curving out, is
paying really... 1 on a 2-drop. It's terrible. Yeah, you don't want to put mana into this until like turn 5. Yeah,
and then later you top deck it later, and it takes a while to get going. Yeah, I think I'm pretty out on this too. D.
Sad. Pour one out for the shrines, everybody.
Yeah. We've got Kappa Tech-Wrecker here. 2 and a green for a 1/3 ninja turtle. Of course, they had to do a turtle ninja, I guess, technically. But ninjutsu, 1 and a green. When it enters the battlefield, it enters the battlefield with a death touch counter. It's a 1/3 death touch, essentially, right? Yeah. Which is a good stat line, actually. When it deals damage, you can remove that death touch counter, and when you do, exile target artifact or enchantment that player controls. That's kind of sweet.
Yeah. I think you're more likely going to like this as just a 2-mana 1/3 death touch. But the fact that you get that option, like,
it's also just a good enabler for your other ninjas too, right?
Right. Yeah. Well, except that unless they have stuff that they're like, I don't really want you to blow this up, and so they're so like, incentivized to block it.
That's a good point.
Yeah, I like this. Oh, yeah, and it's modified because it has the counter.
Yeah, it's modified. Oh. Yeah, exactly. Okay, there's a lot of good little things going on. I think this deserves a C+ at least.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna go push into B- territory.
All right, yeah, I'll join you actually.
Yeah,
sweet. All right, we've got. Sorry, go ahead.
Orochi Merge-Keeper, 1 in the green for a 1/1 Snake Druid. It taps to add green. As long as it's modified, it has tap to add double green instead. Whatever.
Worse than the channel one.
Yeah.
I think. Yeah, I think this is just worse.
I think this is worse than the channel one because by the time this is 1, you don't really want to modify your mana dorks, and 2, then by the time this is modified, you really need the double green.
Often no. I think you rather have my creature gets bigger. You know, I mean it's fine. It's probably gonna get the same grade, a C+ or whatever, but.
Yeah, what did we give? We gave that thing a C+. Yeah. I guess C+ here. You just want your mana dorks, but what are we ramping into?
Roaring Earth is next. 1 and a green for an enchantment. Whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, you put a +1/+1 counter on target creature or vehicle you control. Channel X green, discard Roaring Earth, put X +1/+1 counters on target land you control. It becomes a 0/0 green spirit creature with haste. It's still a land. So the enchantment side of it, kind of interesting. Like, it's a really good modify enabler, right? Just landfall, put a counter on something, modify, start modifying stuff. So that's kind of cool. That's a pretty good rate for that effect.
Yeah, I really like this split here, right? Because if it's in your opener, you're thrilled to play this on turn 2, and now you have landfall get modified.
Yeah.
And then when you top deck this and it's no good any longer, then you just get to turn your land into some giant threat.
Yeah, 3/3 or 4/4 or something like that. Yeah. It's also got haste, so you could, or I guess it's just, sorry, not haste isn't that relevant because, well, it sort of is, because you'll be you'll say you have 6 lands, it'll be 3/3 not a 4/4, but channel being an instant, actually that's kind of sick, right? Isn't that the cool part about this card? This is an instant. Sure. It just ambushes. Like, if it's a 6 mana,
you can ambush or surprise. I have a 5/5 attacking you next turn.
Yeah, or yeah. I guess the tricky thing is that you have to pump a lot of mana into it if you're gonna actually have it untapped on their turn, and actually block something pretty profitably. Because, like, it's 6 mana, it's gonna be a 3/3, because one of the land has to be untapped. But still, yeah. I like this card. What do you want to give it?
I kind of want to give it a B-.
I would give it a B-. Yeah. Cool. Next up, we've got
Spinning Wheel Kick. XX green for a sorcery. Target creature you control deals damage equal to its power to each of X target creatures and or planeswalkers.
The joke here must have been this has multi-kicker, right? Yeah, all right. But this card's not very good, though,
no.
Right? So you're paying 4 mana for sorcery speed bite. And then at 6, it does get pretty good. So maybe that's what you just aspire to do. You cast it for 6, because for 6 mana,
6 kill 2 things.
Yeah, they have to be. Your thing has to be big enough. They have to not have an interaction. Exactly. So, like, it's a little bit of there's a little bit of iffiness there. It's gonna be a blow when it happens, but I don't know. I think this card's just not very good.
That's what I think too.
I kind of want to give it like a D+. It's like high upside, but really low floor.
Yeah, I'm not. It's just these cards, these green cards. Is it just because it's last? Who knows?
Maybe.
Azusa's Many Journeys. 1 and a green for a saga. Chapter 1, you may play an additional land this turn. Chapter 2, you gain 3 life, and then Chapter 3, it exiles and comes back as Likeness of the Seeker. It's a 3/3 human monk enchantment creature. When it becomes blocked, untap up to 3 lands you control.
I like this one. So it's imagine it like an explorer that draws you a 3/3 in 2 turns. A free 3/3 in 2 turns and gives you some life. It's basically Uro, right? That's like it's the same card.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is definitely one of the better one of these uncommon sagas we've seen. I think just getting to 4 mana on turn 3 as long as 4 mana on turn 3 as long as you have the lands in hand, and then on turn 4 you're gonna have a 3/3 that. The ability is not super relevant. I mean, it's a 3/3, whatever. If they block it, great. If they don't, whatever, doesn't really matter that much. But it's a 2 mana 3/3 with the good ability on the other two chapters.
Yeah, I think this is very good.
Yeah, I want to give this one like a B, a B-.
I think go B-, I think.
Yeah. I think that's fair. All right, up next we've got Historian's Wisdom. 2 and a green enchantment. Enchant artifact or creature. When it enters the battlefield, if the enchanted permanent is a creature with the greatest power among creatures on the battlefield, draw a card. As long as the enchanted permanent is a creature, it gets +2/+1. What?
Can I interest you in Sheltering Boughs with downside?
I was just gonna say that.
Yeah.
It's Sheltering Bough. Like, I think Sheltering Boughs at like +1/+3 is a better modification.
Yeah.
And you don't always draw the card. This is rough. I mean. Look, okay, so let's just zoom out a little bit. We've been kind of like trashing these green cards as me and you tend to do in these set reviews sometimes. But at the same time, like, are we just missing how powerfully these might play together? Like that's the only thing I can come up with. That like baseline, these cards seem quite poor to me. A lot of them, anyways, right? And maybe we're just missing how good it is to have a bunch of modified creatures.
I'll tell you how you're getting your modified creatures, baby. With your Dormant Groves.
With your Dormant Groves,
not with your Historian's Wisdom. I'm not into this.
I don't know. Yeah. Like, this is the thing, right? this is the thing about set reviews. Like, this is our first take, or like a secondary take at best, and it's like I'm willing to be totally wrong about this, right? But my baseline for this is just like I'm not interested in what Green has to do currently.
No.
There's just so much junk. I'm not sure.
Yeah, and so much it's junk, and then the good stuff is expensive.
Yeah.
Like the commons we like the most I like the most were like 4 mana and 5 mana.
Yeah, we still got a few more uncommons here, and there are some decent ones, I think. So
Yeah.
let's
I think this is a straight up F. I would
give this an F as well.
I'm never putting this in my deck. Okay.
Next up we've got Storyweave. This is 2 and a green for an instant. Choose one. Put 2+1/+1 counters on target creature you control, or put 2 lower counters on target saga you control. The next time one or more enchantment creatures enter the battlefield this turn, each enters with 2 additional +1/+1 counters. So it's kind of a split card of, an aura sort of that comes in and gives a creature +2/+2. It's like a combat trick where the trick stays around, which is good. Like that's fine. Feral Invocation style card. And then the joke is you flip your saga immediately with the other side of it, right? And then the creature
is huge.
Yeah. Yeah, so you got to have a lot of sagas in your deck. So if you have a lot of sagas in your deck, right?
It will we're getting this question in chat. I'm sure folks watching or listening are going to have this question as well. You do get the effects of those chapters from the saga. Yes. As you accelerate it, you still get those effects.
Yes, exactly. So if you go like 2-drop saga or 3-drop saga into this and you flip it, get a big creature, that still seems like good, not amazing though, I think the baseline of this card is fine.
I think it's fine, and the modality is nice, but it's not great. And like, it's hard for you to really fully get the value of it. It has to be a cheap set. Like, you have to go, turn 5, you play a 2-mana saga, and then you flip it. It's hard to set up the times where you cast the saga and get the full 2-chapter acceleration from the Storyweave, because that saga has to be cheap as well.
I guess I would point in the favor of this is that often your opponent will not be expecting a blocker if you just have a saga around, or just maybe like a small creature into saga. So like the saga can pretty easily eat something if you cast this on your opponent's turn when they're attacking.
Right, because it will exile. It gets to chapter 3. It exiles, comes into play as your enchantment creature. It gets those 2 additional +1/+1 counters. It will be Soul.
I think from the ambush potential on both sides, like just on a saga or on a normal creature, that pushes this into like C+ territory. Like it definitely has the potential to be pretty backbreaking, but I don't think it's
and it's also going to get worse as the format progresses, because people are going to walk into this less.
Yeah, I'll give it a C+ though.
Yeah, I'll start with C+ for sure. Web Spinner Cuff is next. This is 2 and a green for a 1/4 Equipment Spider. Artifact creature with reach. And it has equipped creature gets +1/+4 and has reach for a reconfigure cost of 4.
Your opponent's flying creatures are never getting in. If you have this card, like they're just like, sorry, you're no fly zone.
How did they decide what got the power and toughness buff and what didn't? It seems completely random to me. Because I think +4/+4 and reach that's just so much. I know reconfigure 4 is a lot, but like holy cow.
I wonder if at some point they, like the lifelink one, they probably went, okay, we can't do this. We have to take the buff off. It was probably something like some design knobs or some development knobs were turned. Yeah, I mean this is decent. It blocks really well, and +4 on just like +1/+4 as a buff to something is pretty good, even if you're not blocking. I think this is probably in the C+ territory.
I think so. I think I'm in for C+ here.
Sweet. All right, next up, we got Seiju Reaches Skyward, 4 and a green for a saga. First chapter, search your library for up to 2 basic forests, put them into your hand, then shuffle. So 4 mana, draw 2 forests. Chapter 2, put up to 1 target land from your graveyard on top of your library. Okay, don't think you're going to want to do that all that often. And chapter 3, it turns into a 0/0 reach where the creature gets +1/+1 for each land you control.
Huh?
Yeah, it's good if you're trying to cast a lot of big things. Just drawing 2 forests could be okay. And then turns into a large creature.
Yeah. I don't get it. I don't get it.
It's lands. It's green.
It's green, it's lands. Yeah.
Yeah.
The world's slowest 3-for-1. Yeah, I guess so. I don't know. I think this is like a C-.
I would land on C for this one. I think it's actually fun. I mean, maybe like It is gonna grow really large, like 6'6".
Sure, but who cares?
Yeah, actually,
Who cares?
I'm okay at it. I'm gonna give it a C+. I think this is fine.
A C plus?
Yeah, I think it's fine.
Okay, so this you like more than Dormant Grove. I'm just checking.
I do. I do. Confirmed.
And why is that? I'm really very curious. This just seems like wild to me.
Because it was cheaper and it draws you like resources, right? The other just puts counters and stuff. That's fine.
And enables attacks. Isn't that what you want your like 4 mana things to do?
I don't know if you care that much about enabling attacks in your green decks. I don't know. It's
and enabling modified?
Yeah, potentially.
Okay. But you care about getting a big dumb reach creature.
Oh yeah, that's great. That's fantastic.
Yeah, I can't wait for that. Okay. C.
Then you can put your 1/4 on it. You can put your 1/4.
C plus, and then it's a even bigger reach creature with double reach.
We got a Blossom Prancer here as our last uncommon, ending on a pretty good one. So this is 3 green for 4/4 spirit. It's got reach, so 5 mana 4/4 reach creature. That's not bad. When it enters the battlefield, look at the top 5 cards of your library. You may reveal a creature or enchantment card from among them, put it to your hand. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. If you didn't put a card this way into your hand, you gain 4 life. So
card's insane.
Great, yeah. It draws you a card almost always, and if it doesn't, you gain 4. And note, you can choose to just like look at the top 5 and go, "Oops, no creatures here." This is gain 4. Yeah. So that's pretty sweet.
Yeah, 5 mana 4/4 draws you a spell of your choice, or hey, I don't want that. I mean, I need to gain life so I don't die. Also good because green seems like it'll be dying quite a bit. I think this is a B plus.
Yeah, I give it a B.
Yeah.
Sweet.
All right, first rare here is March of Burgeoning Life. This is the X and a green, last one of this cycle. It's an instant. You can, as an additional cost to cast it, you can exile a number of green cards from your hand. It costs 2 less to cast for each card exiled this way. Choose target creature with mana value less than X. Search your library for a creature card with the same name as that creature. Put it onto the battlefield tapped, then shuffle. F.
Oh, I don't know who this card is for. Like, it's clearly not a limited card, and I don't think it's like a
definitely not a commander card, right?
Not a commander card, yeah.
Yeah.
It's like it feels like a card that they were like, yeah, we can make some sort of like, Green Sun Zenith is banned in Legacy or banned in Modern. Let's see if we make something that's a little bit similar to that, and they like tweaked it all to development hell. It's just like we can't make this too good. So yeah, it is an F for us, and I assume an F for most Magic players as well.
Mm-hmm.
Next up, we've got Kami of Transcendence. This is 1 and a green for a 2/2 Trample Spirit. Whenever you cast an enchantment spell, put a +1/+1 counter on the Kami. Okay. And then at the beginning of each end step, if an enchantment was put into the graveyard from the battlefield this turn, you may return the Kami from your graveyard to your hand.
Oh, wow.
Okay, cool. So, little Enchantress-y grows with your enchantments. And then if you, maybe, if an aura goes to the graveyard, this comes back, right? Or if a saga goes to the graveyard.
Or an enchantment creature.
Yeah.
Dies.
A little recursive threat. Yeah. It's a nice little
This is a solid B, I think.
Yeah, solid little card. Nothing too bomby, but really, really solid.
Mm-hmm. Shigeki Jukai Visionary is 1 and a green for a 1/3 legendary enchantment creature Snake Druid. You can pay 1 and a green, tap it, return Shigeki Jukai Visionary to its owner's hand, reveal the top 4 cards of your library. You may put a land card from among them onto the battlefield tapped. Put the rest into your graveyard. Okay. It has also a channel ability. XX green, discard Shigeki, return X target non-legendary cards from your graveyard to your hand. Interesting. So it's like a...
Wildest Dreams?
Yeah, Wildest Dreams. Thank you. Split card. I don't get the... Oh, so I get the thing is it fuels itself. So you tap it, use the ability, get your land to ramp into it, it returns to your hand, and then channel.
Yep.
That's derpy as heck, and I kind of like it. It's not good, but I like it.
Yeah, it ramps you.
Yeah. Well, does it ramp? Oh, battlefield tapped. Yeah, okay.
Yeah. I think this is a fine card. It's like a C plus. It's C plus probably, I would say. The channel mode is.
What did you give that common 2 mana 1/3 in red? You're like grading this the same as
like
that.
A B plus.
Like a B+.
It deserved it. I know. All I know is it deserved it.
I don't care what anyone says, Alex. I like you.
Thanks.
I don't care what they say about you.
This implies that people don't like me. I don't like this. Anyway. All right. So I mean, this card is good. It's solid value, right? It's both of those are decent.
Mm-hmm.
I'm definitely I would say C plus or C is a little low, but what do you want to give? B plus or B minus?
This is like a B minus, I think. It's
okay,
not. It's, yeah, it's fine. But I'm just like, this is, yeah. You're like great, giving it the same grade as a common 2-mana 1/3 that said when you attack alone you rummage, and you're like, there's a lot of text on this green card. I think it's probably about the same.
Let's go to Weaver of Harmony. This is
Yeah.
1 green for a 2/2 enchantment creature, Snake Druid. Other enchantment creatures you control get +1/+1. Okay. Green tap. Copy target activated or triggered ability you control from an enchantment source. You may choose new targets for that copy. So the obvious thing to do is copy your ability from your Jukai Visionary to put 2 lands onto the battlefield. No, the obvious thing to do. The obvious thing to do is copy your sagas, right? That's I think what it's getting at here. But also some enchantment creatures do have activated abilities, so that's kind of cool. Enchantment creatures get +1/+1. That's also just like a fine line of text.
Enchantment creature lord is just good, I think.
Yeah, that's sweet. And I guess doubling up on your sagas is actually pretty good.
Yeah.
Okay, I like this. We want to give this a B?
I would give this another B, B minus. I mean, maybe you also need to give this like a build around B or something, but
yeah, a little bit synergy-ish, you know.
Yeah, so I probably will give this a build around B, but I like it quite a bit.
All right, we got Teachings of the Kirin. 1 green for a saga. Chapter 1, mill 3 cards and make a 1/1 spirit token. Chapter 2, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature you control. It flips into a 1/1. It's an enchantment creature, as these all are. And when it attacks, you can choose one. Either exile a target creature card from a graveyard. If you do, make a 1/1 colorless spirit token. Or exile a non-creature card from a graveyard. When you do, put a 1/1 counter on target creature you control.
2 mana, mill 3, make a 1/1.
Mm-hmm.
2, put a counter on a creature. Then it flips. You get a 1/1. When it attacks, you can exile. But like it's just a 1/1. So like
yeah, it like there's a chance it turns into a 2/2 or 3/3 on attacks because you know the non-creature, right?
And at the very least, it just leaves behind another 1/1, I guess. And
it's basically Ranger's class. I don't know. It's pretty it's pretty close. No, I mean it's
basically Ranger's class.
It's a nice little package, right? It's nothing.
Yeah, there's nothing to be mad about here.
Yeah, nothing to be mad about. Exactly. I think it deserves a C+.
Yeah, I think so too. We should just chat about the copying abilities thing for a second from the last card from Weaver of Harmony, because there's some questions coming up. So first of all, we didn't mention that you can copy channel abilities with this.
Oh, cool. That is awesome. Yeah.
And the saga abilities you can copy chapter 1, chapter 2. The chapter 3 ability of exile, come back as a creature, you can't get 2 copies of that creature, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So
you can copy the ability, it just won't do what you want.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, next up we've got Kodama of the West Tree. 2 green for a 3/3 legendary creature spirit with reach. Modified creatures you control have trample. Whenever a modified creature you control deals combat damage to a player, search your library for a basic land card, put it onto the battlefield tapped, then shuffle.
Interesting. Interesting that they'd make Centaur Courser rare these days.
Yeah, I'm like, this has reach. It cares about creatures you control that are modified getting trample, and then, but like, it doesn't do any modifying. This is a mythic? What the heck?
So Reed, yeah, okay. So let's give it at least some due diligence here. 3/3 reach is definitely not a bad stat line. If whenever a modified creature you control deals combat damage to a player searcher, so if you get a counter on this or something else, you search out for a land, which ain't bad. That's actually nothing. I wouldn't be too upset about that, right? You start to thin your deck pretty quickly, also ramp.
Mm-hmm.
How often are you gonna have a modified creature early-ish in the game? Remains to be seen. But I think if you can turn this into when I hit you, like a 4/4, and then when I hit you, ramp, that's pretty good.
I'm just chuckling at someone saying, this is a very strong uncommon.
Yeah.
Like, that's what I think.
Yeah.
This is weird to me. I don't know. Yeah, this is fine. This is like a B minus.
Yeah, B minus, and yeah, I think so too. I do think that the great draws of this card, where you get a counter on it or something else early, or like you got a 2-drop creature that happens to be modified and that attacks and gets in, do start to those are kind of the high roll draws, and then like the baseline of like the floor of 3 and a 3/3 reach is not great. I don't know. I think B plus is about right for this card.
B plus?
Sorry, B minus. B
plus. B plus. It's not as good as a 1/3 that rummages sometimes.
honestly, yeah.
What's next with the
Next
saga?
up, we've got the Dragon-Kami Reborn. So this is 2 and a green for a saga. First 2 chapters, they're the same. You gain 2 life. Look at the top 3 cards of your library. Exile one of them face down with a hatchling counter on it. Then put the rest in the bottom of your library in any order. And then you exile the saga. It comes back as an 0-1. An 0-1 egg. It says whenever the Dragon-Kami's egg or a dragon you control dies, you may cast a creature spell from among the cards you own in exile with hatchling counters on it without paying the mana cost. So the way this works, the first 2 chapters, you gain some life, look through your deck for the top 6 cards essentially. You find the best creatures you can find, and when the egg dies, you get to cast one of them for free.
Is that good?
I don't think so.
That seems really bad to me.
I think it's pretty. It feels very Storm the Festival-y, where you're just like, all right, big roll here, and then it's like, and here's a 4/4. This thing has to die for it to happen.
And so you're only digging 6, like
Not that deep.
That's not that deep. This feels like I'm going F.
Yeah, I think it's mostly an F. Yeah, I'm comfortable giving this an F as well.
All right, next is Yugen defends the temple. 2 and a green for a saga. Chapter 1, create a 1/1 green human monk creature token with tap add green. Chapter 2, put a +1/+1 counter on each of up to 2 target creatures. Chapter 3, it flips to Remnant of the Rising Star, which is a 2/2 flyer. It has a lot of text. Whenever another creature enters the battlefield under your control, you may pay X. When you do, put X +1/+1 counters on that creature. Wow. As long as you control 5 or more modified creatures, Remnant of the Rising Star gets +5/+5 and has trample.
Wow.
This card is a house. This card is an absolute house.
That's awesome. Yeah. It is a mythic. we had
to get to a 3-mana mythic. But yep, this card is pretty nuts.
Distributes some counters and then flips into a great creature. I mean, it's fragile all the way down, right? Is the problem with it, right?
But it's also efficient.
Yes, that is true. No, it's great. Oh no, what am I saying? It doesn't. In my head, I thought they killed the monk token that you wouldn't get it, but that's not it. That's not at all how that works. They do need to kill the backside of this, which if that happens, great. You still got a lot of value out of it. So yeah, this one's a really good one. I think this one does enough and is cheap enough. Just like a lot of the other 3-mana sagas at Rare we've seen, or Rare Mythic, they just do a lot. I'm going to give this one an A. Does a lot of really efficient stuff.
I'm in for A as well.
All right. Invoke the Ancients. 1 green, 5 mana sorcery. Create 2 4/5 green spirit tokens. For each of them, put your choice of a vigilance, reach, or trample counter on them.
I'll jump through some hoops for 2 4/5s with my choice of some counters.
That's some stats.
That's some stats, baby.
Yeah.
There's your ramp target. And also, so much of the ramp that you have contributes to instances of green, right? Your mana dorks tap for green. And so even in, a 10-7 split mana-based deck, it's not crazy to think that you can cast this pretty reliably.
This is definitely the most castable out of all of them, I would say, right? Yeah. And so that reflects in the grade a little bit. I think I'd give this one an A-.
I think I would as well. Yeah, I really like this card.
All right, Ethan, bring us home.
Oh, baby. Thought it would never come. Kura, the Boundless Sky. 3 green for a 4/4 legendary creature dragon spirit. It has flying, it has death touch, and it has, when it dies, choose 1. Search a library for up to 3 land cards. Finally, a way to find lands from my deck in green. Put them into your hand? Put them into my hand. All right, then shuffle. Or create an XX green spirit creature token where X is the number of lands you control. Okay. Yeah, this card's great. So it's a 5-mana 4/4 flying death touch that dies into at least a 5/5, basically.
Looks like, yep.
That's an A.
Yep, another A for these Mythic Dragons. Easy one to end off on. Nice.
Oh, boy. Ethan. That is the longest one-shot review we've ever done.
Yeah.
Clocking in at 8 hours live here on stream. Any final thoughts here, Alex, besides down with green, up with red?
Well, still very much looking forward to it. I think there's still a lot of really interwoven synergies, as there tends to be in, like I mentioned at the top of the show, these Dave Humphrey led sets.
Yeah.
It tends to be really good, that kind of stuff, and leads to some really limited events that have a lot of play to them where you don't just get bored of them on week 3 or whatever. So really excited about that big picture. Super excited to see just how aggressive and low to the ground the red decks can get. Excited to see, the Ninjutsu decks. Just, excited for everything. And I'm even excited to see if green surprises us, of course.
Yeah. For sure. And I'm fingers crossed for shrines to at least get there at some point.
Yeah.
All right. That's going to do it for the recording here. Thanks for watching.